ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणललितां श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरंगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। मञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Today I am going to talk about who is a Vaishnava. People have a lot of misconceptions about who a Vaishnava is. There are so many religious forms in this world, and people tend to think that being a Vaishnava is one another form of faith. But that is not the case. Vaishnavism can also be called as Sanatana Dharma, or the true religion, or the ultimate religion. Just like there is a nature for water to be a liquid, or there is a nature for earth to be fragrant, or there is a nature of the sun to give out light, same way there is a nature for the living entity, and that is one of service. So in some sense, each and every living entity is a servant of God, either directly or indirectly, and hence everybody is a Vaishnava in some sense. Everybody is a part and parcel of God. In that sense, everybody is a Vaishnava. So this is the understanding given by Ramanujacharya and all the great Vaishnava saints of the Bharatavarsha. So we must not think that a Vaishnava is merely another form of faith, and therefore it is not a fanatical or a sentimental idea to be a Vaishnava. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna that Yam sannyasam iti prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava. So people tend to think that a sannyasi is a person who is not going to cook for himself or to take care of himself, and he will just live a carefree life. That is what people think about what real sannyasa is. But Krishna refutes that idea by saying that a sannyasi is not a person who doesn't lit up fire, but yam sannyasam iti prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava. But a true yogi is also a sannyasi. And also in the 3rd chapter, Krishna says that Panchendriyani samyamya ye aste manasasmaran indriyarthan vimudatma mithyacharascha uchyate. So a person who merely tries to control his senses but is perverted in his mind, he is a cheater. So it's not that just because somebody wears a tilaka or wears kantimala, he has become a Vaishnava. So once Srila Prabhupada was being asked by one of his dear disciples that we have become a Vaishnava but still we have some difficulties and so forth. And Prabhupada asked him back, just because you wore tilaka and kantimala, do you think you have become a Vaishnava? Being Vaishnava is very rare. So being a Vaishnava is really very rare. And there is another story of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Once he was having a tour of Vrindavan, and at the end of the tour he told his disciples, I did not even find one Vaishnava. And his disciples asked him, but Guruji, this whole Vrindavan is filled up with Vaishnavas, with Babajis, and with so many great Vaishnavas, or so called great Vaishnavas, and you are saying you did not even find one Vaishnava. And to that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj replied that they are all neophytes. So the essence of the story is that to become a Vaishnava or a true Vaishnava is very difficult and it is very rare. Just like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Samahatma Sudurlabha. So Durlabha means difficult to get, and Sudurlabha means very difficult to get. So a Vaishnava means one who is a real Mahatma, and Mahatma means Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma. So one who has understood Krishna to be everything, he is a Mahatma. And it is very rare to find a Mahatma. So it is generally thought that a person who is going to a Vishnu temple and wears a Vishnu tilaka, he is a Vaishnava. But yes, in some sense he is a Vaishnava, but that is only a neophyte understanding of who a true Vaishnava is. Manushyanam sahasresu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. So in this verse, Krishna is saying that out of thousands and thousands of human beings, a few may be interested in spiritual understanding, and among such people, one among 1,000 or 1,000,000 would understand the absolute truth in reality. So in that sense, a Vaishnava is no easy thing, in the words of Srila Prabhupada. So it is very hard to become a Vaishnava, or the standards of being a Vaishnava is very high. So just like we were discussing earlier, Vaishnava is not just a faith. Just like a Christian could become a Muslim tomorrow, or a Hindu could become a Muslim tomorrow, or a Muslim could become a Buddhist day after. So these are all just externalities. A person could just change his mindset and tend to follow another religion, but true Vaishnavism is much deeper than that. It is not merely an externality, but it has to do with the internal self. Krishna gives a lot of qualities that a sadhu must possess. So a true sadhu is a Vaishnava in a real sense. So one must try to rise himself from being a neophyte devotee to a Madhyama Bhakta and then to a Uttama Bhakta. So a person, according to Srila Prabhupada, is a Uttama Bhakta if he is always interested in preaching Krishna consciousness or Krishna Bhakti throughout the world. So that is a standard for being a Uttama Bhakta. So one must try to raise himself to a point where he could become a preacher of Bhagavad Gita or a preacher of pure Vaishnavism throughout the world. So a Vaishnava is a is also paradukka dukki. So paradukka dukki means when he sees the pain of others, he feels great pain. So he wants to serve them by giving them higher knowledge and also giving them a good service so that they can again be reinstated in a happy position. So a person who becomes unhappy seeing the pain of others is a Vaishnava. And another definition given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a person who is not interested in any material association. He is a Vaishnava. And another definition is a person who is very much interested in preaching the glories of the Supreme Lord. He is a Vaishnava. So it is not possible to discuss what is good without a reference to God. I would say that the word goodness is in reference to the word God. So, in that sense, Vaishnavism is not a fanatical idea or a sentimental religion. It is about building pure character in a human being. That is what is the aim of all Vaishnavas. And Vaishnavism is a theistic religion, and it's also a monotheistic religion. That means there is only one supreme God, and all the other gods or demigods are parts and parcels of that supreme God. So that is the understanding of monotheism, and Vaishnavism is monotheistic in nature. So there are also other forms of Vaishnavism like Saivism and Ganapatyam and other forms of worship of Durga Devi and so forth. But the ultimate understanding is that Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the other gods and demigods are his parts and parcels. So in that sense, a Vaishnava is a person who worships Vishnu as the Supreme Lord, and it is not a sentimental idea. Otherwise, why would Ramanujacharya have to deal with the Kirmikanda Sodan and so forth and risk their own lives and their own bodies to say that Vishnu is even superior to Lord Shiva? So this is also corroborated by Lord Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, that A Brahma Bhuvana Lokan Punaravartino Arjuna Mamupetyatu Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. So A Brahma Bhuvana Lokal, that means Krishna is saying that starting from the Brahma Loka down to the lowest planetary systems, all the planetary systems are destroyed and recreated again and again. But if a person attains my Krishna Loka or Vaikuntha, there is no more birth, death, old age and disease. And also my world is a spiritual world and it is not subject to creation, maintenance and annihilation. So we have to accept the words of Vedic literature and all the great spiritual masters and great souls like Ramanujacharya, even Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vallabhacharya, and all the great souls of India have accepted that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, even Shankaracharya, who is considered a Shaivite, says, Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Geetam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namaniyani Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. So he says that Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Geetam. There is only one ultimate Shastra, that is whatever is spoken by the son of Devaki, that is Lord Sri Krishna. That is the ultimate philosophy. ekam shastram devaki putra geetam. Eko devo devaki putra eva. There is only one supreme personality and he is the son of Devaki. Eko mantrastasya namani yani. There is only one ultimate mantra, that is his names of chanting Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. And Karmapi ekam tasya devasya seva. There is only one action for the whole of humanity, that is serving him and working according to his direction. So we can understand that according to the Vedic literature, which is the oldest literature on religion, Krishna or Vasudeva or Devaki Nandana is the supreme personality of Godhead. Coming back to the qualities of a Vaishnava or a devotee, there are so many references in Bhagavad Gita and also in Srimad Bhagavatam and in various Vaishnava literature about the qualities that must be exhibited by a devotee. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitraha karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukka sukakshami santushtaha satatam yogi yatatma dhrida nishchaya mayarpita mano buddhihi yobhattak same priyaha. So this is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita about who is his bhakta. Adveshta. Adveshta is a person who has no dvesha towards anybody, or one who is not angry or upset or envious of anybody. Adveshta. Sarvabhutanam maitraha. One who is a friend of all the living entities. Karuna evacha. One who is very compassionate to the suffering souls. Nirmamo, one who doesn't think that something belongs to him, but one who engages everything in the service of Krishna. Nirahankaraha, one who has no false ego, and hence one who considers himself a servant of everybody. Samadukka sukhaha, one who takes happiness and distress equally. Kshami, one who forgives others for their misbehavior. Santushtaha, one who is happy with his being a spirit soul, or one who is an Atma Rama, or one who has attained peace within his mind. Satatam Yogi, one who is constantly engaged in devotional service. Yatatma, one who is completely self-controlled. Dhrida Nishchayaha, one who understands that service to Krishna is the ultimate and one who is fixed in it in a very determined way. Nirmamo nirahankara samadukka sukakshami santushta satatam yogi yatatma dhrida nishchaya mayarpita mano buddhihi. One who has given his whole mind and intelligence to the service of the Supreme Lord. In other words, one who always remembers the Supreme Lord and one who always uses his intelligence to understand the Supreme Lord's glories. Nirmamo nirahankara samadukka sukakshami santushta satatam yogi yatatma dhrida nishchaya mayarpita mano buddhiryo madbhakta same priyaha, and one who is devoted to Achyuta or Krishna. So a person who is situated in that way, one who is a saintly character, he is a true Vaishnava. And in the 16th chapter, Krishna gives some more qualities of a Vaishnava. Abhayam, Sattva Samshuddhihi, Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi, Dhanam, Damascha Yajnascha, Swadhyayaha, Tapaha, Arjavam. So Abhayam means a person who is fearless. So a person can be fearless if he can speak in front of the world very loudly and boldly that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and we have to follow the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga. A person who can speak very loudly like that, he is a fearless person. Abhayam, Sattva Samshuddhihi, one who is pure at heart. So, in this way, being a Vaishnava is not just a sentimental idea. A Vaishnava has to work for the welfare of all living entities. Moreover, just giving some service to the body is not all in all. There are so many missions that open schools and hospitals to educate people so that they could become clerks and other doctors and advocates and so forth. So this may give them some livelihood, but real education is education in Vaishnava Dharma. So giving food and clothing and shelter is all good, but if one doesn't educate another that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and we have to become His devotee, then we are not actually giving them any good. Because if you feed today's hungry stomach, tomorrow it will become hungry again. Of course, we have to take care of all sufferings of all humanity, but the ultimate good that we can do to a human being is to educate him about who he is and what his relationship with Krishna is. So Vaishnava is not a person who is merely interested in making some prasadam at home and chanting Hare Krishna in his room and sleeping. Prabhupada used to say like that. A Vaishnava must not just send his subordinates to go and beg for him and cook nicely and sleep. That is not a Vaishnava. Vaishnava means he must go out and educate people that they must not live in Maya, but they must take the shelter of Krishna. So a person who does that service, he is very dear to Krishna. So a Vaishnava is a person who wants to become very dear to Krishna, and Krishna becomes very dear. Krishna becomes very happy when he sees a person who becomes a devotee of Krishna, and moreover one who tries to spread the message of Bhagavad Gita. Just as Krishna says in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that a person who spreads this message of Bhagavad Gita is the most dear to me, and there will be no person who will become more dear than him to me. So in another sense, a Vaishnava is also a social being, in the sense he has a lot of social responsibilities. For example, Prahlad Maharaj says in the Bhagavatam that there are so many yogis who want to reside in forests or who want to seclude themselves from the ordinary public and not care about them. But that is not very glorious according to Prahlad Maharaj. He says that I want to work with all these fallen souls and try to educate them about the glories of Krishna consciousness or Krishna Bhakti, and I want to go to Vaikuntha along with them. So that is the nature of a Vaishnava. He doesn't want to go to Vaikuntha himself and not worry about others. This was the same example that was said by Ramanujacharya as well. He wanted to say the holy names of Krishna as the ultimate savior of all living entities, though his spiritual master did not want the holy name of Lord Ranganatha to be revealed to everyone and all. But Ramanujacharya wanted to compassionately give the holy names of Krishna to both the qualified and unqualified. So that is the nature of a Vaishnava, that he always wants to be in the battlefield for Krishna. So we can understand that just like Arjuna was fighting the battlefield on behalf of Krishna, same way a Vaishnava also wants to fight for Krishna. And what he fights against is Maya. He wants to fight against illusion in his own mind, and he wants to also educate as many people as possible and educate them and bring them to the standard of pure devotional service. So one may ask, if God is all powerful, why doesn't he do all the activity by himself? So the answer is, Krishna wants to give all his parts and parcels some service. So, as Vaishnavas, we have also the service to help educate everybody else in the matter of Krishna consciousness. That is why all the great spiritual masters, they take a lot of personal pain and personal difficulties. They risk their lives, they risk their souls, and they go into the field and speak about Krishna. So Ramanujacharya had so many enemies when his religion became very popular. They wanted to even kill him. And his dear disciple Kuratalwan or Kuresha, he lost his eyes, but still he wanted to boldly say that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why did these Vaishnavas take so much pains? Because they wanted to make sure that the following generations will understand the glory of Krishna. So that is why they took so many personal difficulties against so many oppressions and suppressions. Same with Madhvacharya. During his time there were so many difficulties, but still he wanted to preach the glory of Lord Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took so many personal pains in traveling the whole of India to speak about the glories of Krishna. So in this way, all the great Vaishnava Acharyas, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, his followers, and so many great Vaishnavas, they take so many personal difficulties in order to save the world from ignorance. And thus they become very dear to Lord Sri Krishna. So, it is not required that a person must become a great scholar. That is not at all required. There was a young girl and she used to meet her guests and used to say that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's all she knew. And when Prabhupada came to know about it, he said she is a devotee because she says that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead to everyone she meets. So she is a devotee. That's what Prabhupada told. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction is Yare deke tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. So whoever you meet, you talk to them about the glories of Krishna consciousness and try to help them come out of ignorance. So a person has to struggle to help people bring out of ignorance. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj used to say that to make even one person Vaishnava, we have to spend gallons and gallons of blood. It is not so easy because a conditioned soul is so eager to sense gratify. To stop him from sense gratification is so difficult. But a Vaishnava does a thankless job of trying to lift him out of ignorance. So in that way a Vaishnava is very glorious, and Krishna considers a Vaishnava even more merciful than himself. So in that way being a Vaishnava is very glorious. So Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction is Yare deke tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. And we have to follow that instruction, that whoever we meet, we have to try to remind them of a pious life or a saintly life, and also to help them understand the greatness of Lord Sri Krishna. So in this world, especially in the current day, there are so many problems. Husband mistreating a wife, or wife mistreating a husband, mother-in-law mistreating a daughter-in-law, or daughter-in-law mistreating a mother-in-law, or a fight between a son and a daddy. So there is so many confusion that's going on in family life. There is so much of confusion going on in the corporate life. There is so much of confusion going on in the political climate of every country. There is so much economic disability or instability. So all this is happening, and it's all happening because of lack of knowledge. So ignorance is the cause of pain. So if we understand that, if we can help remove ignorance of people's heart, then everything will become good. If we just change a system from A to B, it will not help. Systems will not help. But it is the people's mindset that has to be changed, and that can only be done by means of devotional service. If we just give a bunch of rules and regulations, it will always be floated. So we have to make as many Vaishnavas as possible, and just like there were so many Vanaras that were helping Ramachandra go and defeat Ravana, same way we have to take the pains to educate ourselves in the mission of devotional service, and to educate as many people as possible in the glories of devotional service. And we have to do it in a very united way. So there is so much of cow killing that is going on in the world today. So it is not sufficient that we speak about Krishna's love for the gopas and the cows and so forth, or how Krishna enjoyed butter, and at the same time not do anything against the killing of cows. So it is not that we have to only love the cows and hate the goats and the sheep and the chickens. I am not saying that. A Vaishnava is paradukka dukhi. So personally he will not commit the most sinful act of killing animals, nor will he engage in eating any animal flesh himself. And also as a Vaishnava, we must raise our voice against any atrocities that happen to animals and also to all our other dependents. So there are so many things that a Vaishnava has to protect on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has to protect the elderly, he has to protect women, he has to protect children, he has to also protect the cows. So these are all dependent on a Vaishnava to protect them. So a Vaishnava has to raise his voice when he sees any atrocities that are being done to innocent animals, and he has to do his best to stop violence against any living entity. When Maharaj Parikshit, he saw that the Kali personified was harming a cow and a bull, he wanted to immediately kill the Kali Purusha. So that is the anger that Parikshit Maharaj showed when a cow or a bull was mistreated. But unfortunately today all over the world there are so many cows and bulls that are being killed mercilessly, and there is so much of ill effects to the world's climatic conditions and the world's natural resources, but still we are unable to do anything major against the violence against animals. So as Vaishnavas, it is not sufficient to just read scriptures and to enjoy personally, but we also have the duty to act when it is required. So in that way Lord Ramachandra has given a very wonderful example. He involved all the Vanaras, and he involved so many of Sugriva's subordinates in the search for Sita and in the killing of Ravana, so that everybody will become glorious. So Rama wants all the Vaishnavas to be known in a very glorious way. So Krishna could have killed all the Duryodhanadis just by himself. Rama could have killed Ravana just with one arrow. But still Rama or Krishna don't want to be known as glorious all alone. He can even kill the whole world in a second. Right? Krishna can kill the whole world in a second. Or Krishna can kill all the envious souls in a second. But Krishna doesn't do it. So Krishna has given some service to all his subordinates, and a person can claim himself to be a Vaishnava only when he is willing to act for the pleasure of Krishna, and this world is a war place all the time. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. You remember me, but fight. So we have to fight against ignorance of all, in all forms, in all shapes. And that fighting is not done with a sword, but that fighting is done with chanting the holy names of Krishna very loudly. So we have to do this Sankirtan Yajna very loudly and very bravely, and we have to educate as many people as possible in devotional service, so that there is no violence against women, there is no violence against elderly people, there is no violence against children, and there is no violence against poor animals. So a Vaishnava fights for the upkeep of the society. A Vaishnava has a social responsibility, and the Vaishnava has the responsibility to be selfless and to be without any false ego, and thus a Vaishnava must be ready to do everything that is possible for the welfare of the world. So a person who works for the welfare of the world fearlessly and tirelessly, he is a true Vaishnava. Thank you.